It all started with a crumpled $20 bill and a bad idea. Just spill something on him. Make it awkward so he leaves early, the voice on the phone had said. Emily had never done anything like this before. She was the kind of person who apologized to furniture if she bumped into it, the kind of woman who felt guilty for returning a shirt after wearing it once. But things had been rough lately. Her rent was overdue, her fridge held nothing but expired yogurt, and her bank account had been sitting at $4.17 for a week. $20 wasn't much, but when you're drowning, even a small piece of driftwood feels like hope. She didn't ask why. She didn't want to know who this man was or why someone wanted to ruin his night. It wasn't her business. She told herself it was harmless, a spilled drink, a few awkward moments, then she'd walk away. Nobody gets hurt. Easy money. The restaurant was one of those places she would normally cross the street to avoid. Crystal chandeliers, velvet booths, waiters who looked like they had auditioned for a movie about butlers. Emily's second-hand dress felt even more out of place under the golden lights. She clutched her purse tightly and scanned the room until she saw him. He was sitting alone at a corner table, checking his watch. Tall, well-dressed, with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from having the world at your feet. His eyes were kind, though, tired, but kind. Emily hesitated. For a moment, she wondered what he was thinking. Was he nervous? Excited? Expecting someone who'd never show up? She picked up a glass of red wine from the bar, her weapon of choice, and made her way toward him. But as she got closer, he looked up, smiled warmly, and said, "Are you Emily?" She froze. It turned out his date had texted him last minute to say she couldn't come. She had been so apologetic that he'd laughed it off, deciding to enjoy the evening anyway. And now here was Emily, standing in front of him, wine in hand, looking like someone caught in headlights. He assumed she was a blind date his assistant had arranged to replace the original one. Before she could correct him, he gestured for her to sit. "Join me. Unless you have better plans than free dinner," he teased. It was supposed to be quick, a seat, a distraction, maybe even the spill. But as minutes turned into hours, something strange happened. They talked. Really talked. About books they both loved. About how the city could feel both magical and lonely. About childhood dreams that never came true. He told her about losing his parents young, about building his company from nothing, about how success had given him everything except someone to share it with. Emily listened, forgetting why she was there. She told him about her tiny apartment, about working 3 jobs to stay afloat, about the ache of wanting more but never quite reaching it. There was no pity in his eyes. Just genuine interest. Halfway through dessert, she realized she hadn't done the job. The wine sat untouched, the accident unspilled. Her phone buzzed under the table, a short, impatient message, "Did you do it yet?" She turned it face down. When the check arrived, he didn't just pay for dinner, he walked her outside and asked if he could see her again. Her heart thudded against her ribs. She knew she should disappear, that if he ever found out why she'd been there that night, it would destroy everything. But she also knew she wanted to see him again more than she wanted the $20. Over the next few weeks, they met again and again. Coffee dates, walks in the park, quiet dinners. Emily found herself smiling in ways she hadn't in years. She started forgetting the weight of overdue bills and began remembering what it felt like to dream. But the guilt grew alongside her feelings. Finally, one rainy evening, she decided she had to tell him. They were sitting in a small cafe, steam fogging the windows, when she blurted it out. Every detail, the phone call, the money, the wine. She couldn't look at him when she finished. Silence stretched between them. She braced for anger, for disgust, for him to stand up and walk away. But instead, he reached across the table, took her hand, and said softly, "I knew." She looked up, stunned. That first night, you looked like someone who didn't belong in that place. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you weren't there for yourself. I didn't know who sent you or why, but I decided to give you the chance to show me who you really were. And I'm glad I did." Tears burned her eyes. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He leaned in, his voice low but certain. "Emily, I don't care how we met. What matters is that I found you. And I'm not letting go." Months later, she was no longer struggling to make rent. Not because he rescued her with money, but because he encouraged her to chase the photography career she'd always wanted. He introduced her to people who believed in her work, helped her open her own little studio. She never found out who had paid her that $20 or why. It didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that a night meant to ruin someone had ended up saving them both. Sometimes life has a funny way of giving you exactly what you need, just wrapped in the last package you'd ever expect. And for Emily, that package came with a crumpled $20 bill and a man who saw past it to the person she truly was.